Greetings, everybody. How are you? Let's talk about this. And this is for all the women who are hurting, all the women who can't let go. I feel your pain. Um, Not the part where you can't let go, but the part where you're hurting, because as women, all of us hurt for one reason or the other. But I'm going to say that I'm not capable of loving somebody who doesn't love me. I was just not built that way. I can learn to love somebody. I can be with someone who I don't love and learn to love them. And when I say I don't love them, in the initial stage of meeting, I might not feel this so called love that some people talk about. But I can see the potential of loving that person and growing in love with that person. Now, in terms of women who've reached out and said, my lover, my friend, my boyfriend, my husband, told me he doesn't love me anymore. And I'm struggling because I still love him. See, we all handle loss in different ways. We all have to take time to heal. I get it. But I'm going to say this to all the young people, especially young people. You know, a guy tells you that he doesn't love you anymore, and you're hoping that your deep love for him is going to let him change his mind. I'm going to say you're going about it the wrong way. And I'm going to say it's time to let go. And I know it's not easy, but for your own dignity. And let me tell you something about men. I know a little something about men, okay? As an older woman and a person who have been in two relationships span 25 years. In fact, it's 31 years. Let me change that up. 15 with one person and 16 with another. And during the time when I was with these two person, I have learned a lot. To spend 31 years seeing no one else but these two persons, I think I learned a little something from men. Men don't like women who are clingy. The worst thing you could do is to be picking up your phone and calling a guy who doesn't call you. And if you have the strength not to call him, but when he calls, you are available, worst thing. A man will never appreciate you, never truly love you if you are so available emotionally and physically. You have to learn to love yourself first and foremost, that when someone rejects you, it's not so deep to the point where you're losing your will to live. See, it's not about him rejecting you while you've gotten to that deep state of depression. You already had issues that you needed to work out. Okay? It's called desperation. A man senses desperation in someone who he might think he loves, and it turns him off completely. See, men find themselves loving women also who reject them. And when they're clingy and they won't let go, it's called stalking. So why should it be any different for women? Now you've shared your life with somebody, you bring children up together, you have investment together. That's not easy to let go. But when the person look you square in the face and say, I don't love you, I don't want to be with you, there's something in you as a woman who's supposed to say to yourself, some self-respect, to say, well, I'm going to cry this out. I'm going to need a little time to get over this. That is natural. But to be constantly throwing yourself at this person and begging them to stay with you. No, it's only going to turn them off. The best way to deal with a man who's rejected you is to love yourself unconditionally and to use that opportunity to change your life in such a way that he regrets it, but not regret it to the point where he comes back for you and you're available. Because no matter how nice this person seems or how nice they make you feel, there's always somebody who's going to make you feel better, treat you better, love you better. Your relationship is something you feel like, I can't live without this person. But the truth, or if truth be told, we can live without people and they can live without us. Another thing I'm going to say is one of the reasons why, as women, we get treated so badly by the men we love is because we are the one who facilitate that. We're the ones who give them the message that it doesn't matter how badly they treat us, we're going to be there. And you have to question yourself to say, if someone treats you so terribly, all they do is make you feel bad about yourself, and yet you lay yourself down like a rug for them to run over. Now, relationships go through tests. And if you're married 30 years and you're in a good relationship, you have to put in the work. There will be trials, there will be upheavals, there will be ups and downs, as they say. But look at how you go through those upheavals. Look at how dedicated your partner is for you to determine if this is worth saving. Because we can't tell you. I can't tell you leave this person or stay. Only you can determine what a value that person brings to your life. Some of us stay out of fear. I don't stay out of fear. If I start feeling afraid, I'm leaving. But for some people, fear paralyzes them. For others, fear mobilizes them. And we have to respect the fact that different people cope differently. But for those who say, I love him so much, or I love her so much, how are you going to love somebody who doesn't love you? That's not love. What you're feeling for this person is not love, because love has to first come from you, from within you. Okay? And if truth be told, a lot of the long-term suffering that people endure at the hand of the ones they claim they love are due to you not valuing yourself. So you see people going off and cheating or having affairs and things like that, and these individuals decide to work it out. That's not for anything for me and you to get emotionally involved in. That's their life. They must know what value they bring to each other's life. But for the person who's constantly complaining that their partner is cheating and their partner is doing all these illicit things that affects their relationship, they constantly do it because they know they can do it, they can get away. And so, if truth be told, if someone is in a relationship and they come and they say, my partner had an affair and it's very hurtful and painful and we'll work it out, I could actually encourage them to work it out and to stay together depending on the situation, because every situation is different. Everybody's situation is different. Somebody could be lonely, could be in this long distance relationship, and someone strays. I'm not saying it is okay, but when you look at those circumstances, it's different from one where you're living together, you make yourself available in every way, and your partner still find his or her way into someone else's arms. I'm not going to tell her to leave, and I'm not going to tell her to stay. But I would advise these ones that when you have these situations where people cheating, you need to keep it to yourself if you know you're the type of person that no matter what the person does to you, you're going to stay. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself and work it out. Nobody needs to know about your messy life, especially if it's something you're accustomed to, especially something that you say, well, if this happens, I'm going to still stay with my partner. Keep it to yourself. Now, there's times when people find out about these things and it's outside of your control. There's nothing you can do about it. But for people who run off and they tell everybody and they call all their friends and they tell all their family, and then 2 days later they're on the same pillow and they're so much in love, it looks ridiculous, but it makes you feel ridiculous. This is why you can't be too emotionally invested into people's lives. But at the same time, some men can never change because the women that they're with allow them, or not that you have control over other people, but when your partner is disrespectful in whichever way or unfaithful in any way, you have sent a message to them that it doesn't matter what you do, I'm going to be here. And if that's a commitment you make in your relationship, blessings to you. If someone does something to me once, there's a potential or possibility for me to forgive that person. But if the person repeats that behavior, I'm done. And a lot of women who ultimately go their separate ways, or men who separate from their partners, you know, so the first time you violate that person or betray that person, if you believe that their forgiving ways or their ability to forgive you means that they have not just forgotten, but that it's all behind them, a lot of times these individuals are leaving that relationship emotionally. So if you are a person who cheats, or you're a person who constantly violates your partner, and they always find room to forgive you, and you assume that, you know what, they're so wonderful, they'll forgive me, and you start taking that for granted. Sometimes it might not happen right away, but it's inevitable. For those of you who are long suffering, bless up yourselves. But if you want someone to love you and to respect you, you have to demand that. And if you say, these are not just rules, but this is my breaking point, this is my no go zone, and the individual goes there and you still stay, then you can never tell that person, that you have any boundaries. We have to establish boundaries in our relationships, in our friendships. And once people violate or break those boundaries, you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared, no matter how painful it is, to stand your ground. People can make mistakes. We're human beings, we err. But self love is the best love. And if someone keep doing the same thing to you over and over again, that's not love, darling. That's not love. And when you're young, you might have more give and take. But a man or woman who constantly violate you, who watch you in pain and hurt and repeat that, does not love you. If the person repeat the act that cause you pain and suffering, that is not love. It isn't. And so we have to allow persons to get to the point where they decide, this is how I measure love. This is what I'm worth. And when you see them doing things that you wouldn't allow, you have to give them time. Give them time to figure it out, because they will. The best friends are the ones who see your weaknesses, see that your relationship is really not building you, not uplifting you, and they won't necessarily stay quiet. They'll listen to you and they'll ask you questions. They'll never tell you what to do. But when you make the decision to go, they'll support you. They won't say, oh, you know, I don't know why you stayed with that person for so long. They'll just say they're happy for you, that you finally have the strength to do what is right. A man or woman can only hurt you as long as you allow them. And it doesn't make any sense that someone violates you and then you come out pretending like all of a sudden, one kiss, one hug makes it better. These kinds of betrayal last for a lifetime. And only people who don't have the strength to accept that their relationship needs work, or sometimes a separation is required. There are people who separate and they get back together. Separation doesn't mean the end of your relationship. Sometimes it's necessary for each person to take time to themselves to really reflect. But when you allow your partner to do as they like and just come back and say, I'm sorry, or come back and say, I love you, that magical word seems to fix everything. It doesn't. It doesn't fix everything. Some of these relationships, on the outside, they look like these beautiful homes built on very weak foundation. Everything looks beautiful on the outside. But slowly crumbling. Love yourself. Respect yourself. Stop running behind people and crying and begging them to love you. Love yourself. Stay blessed, everyone.